No, the title of the video does not mean I got rid of my PS3 or that I already upgraded to the PS4, so I'll just get that out of the way right now. And since I'm getting things out of the way, hey YouTube auditor, fuck you. No. What this title means is the start of a brand new series. I wanted to do something different, and I wanted a way to look back at my PlayStation 3 and the collection of games that have kept me entertained for the better part of 7 years. And I came up with this idea. So over the next few months, I'm going to be playing all my PlayStation 3 games one last time before the eventual purchase of my next console. Now, every single game in my possession is going to be played at least one time, and I'm going to be posting up footage of that gameplay one final time before saying goodbye to my trusty PlayStation 3. Now, here's how the series is going to work. I went through my collection of games and decided upon all the games that I have a physical copy of. Those are going to be the games that I do a video on, with one exception, and I'll get to that when I actually come up to that video. Pretty much all the games you see will be games that I have purchased, with the exception of a few games that were gifts, you know, like Ghost or World of War, shit like that. But again, I'll get into those when I get to do those videos. There will be only one downloaded game that I will do a video on that I purchased on my own. The 4 free games that I got when PlayStation Network got hacked are not going to be used, mainly because I think I'll uninstall those shits and I don't feel like adding them back. So I'll stick to the physical copies of the games that I have in my possession, which totals 55 games. Yes, that is right. You will see. Yes, that is right. You will be seeing 55 videos of the PlayStation 3 games that I own, minus one game that I lent to a friend and he still hasn't returned to me because it's the kleptomaniac motherfucker. Now, that doesn't mean you're about to see 55 straight videos of all the games I own. That's not how it's going to work. Since there are 55 videos, I'll be posting up 5 videos per weekday on certain weeks. Again, that is not 55 straight videos. That is not going to be 11 straight weeks. This week, I'm going to be posting up 5 old games. But next week, I'm going to go back to my usual 3 videos a week of Call of Duty, Hipfire commentary videos, or Destiny videos, whenever the fuck they actually launched that beta in this motherfucker, man. Whatever I'm playing at the time, whatever I feel like posting my normal schedule, those will be in the odd weeks that I'm not doing this series. Now, the week after that, I might go back to doing these old videos. Hell, I might do 2 weeks in a row of saying goodbye to my PlayStation 3 videos in a row, because you know what? I'm a fucking boss like that. Basically, whatever video you see on a Monday, that's going to give you a good idea what I'm about to post this entire week. All of this will be leading up to my eventual purchase of a PlayStation 4. Now again, I don't know when I'm going to get it, but it will be sometime before the full release of Destiny. Either way, even if I get a PlayStation 4 ahead of time, I will be doing this series until the completion. And I anticipate completing this on the Friday before Destiny actually releases the full game. Now, over the course of the next few months, you guys are going to get some insight into the games that I played on my console. And each video is going to discuss a little bit about the game that I'm playing, why I bought it, whether or not I like the motherfucker. Basically, it's going to be a reflection video on each game. Some games will have some multiplayer gameplay, some will probably have some friends hop along for some online fun or whatever the fuck we feel like doing, but the overwhelming majority of these videos are going to be campaign videos. Mainly the start of campaigns, because chances are I don't have any save data for some of the oldest fucking games. You know, a few years ago, my original PlayStation 3 fat died, and I sent the shit out to be fixed, but the motherfuckers replaced it instead. So all that save data I had on the shit was lost. Now, I was able to capture some of the save data before I sent the machine out, but I wasn't able to get all that save data. And for the games that I wasn't able to get all the save data, you're going to notice that I start the campaigns right from the beginning up in this motherfucker. But anyway, as time goes on, we're going to talk more in detail about my PlayStation 3 and whatnot. But the first game up, the game that you've been watching in the background, was an original launch release in Resistance: Fall of Man. The game received some pretty good acclaim at the time, but the reality was, the console only launched like 6 fucking games. So yeah, it was a good game compared to the other garbage that they put out around that time. No, in reality, Resistance: Fall of Man is a quality game, and even going past the launch title, it is a pretty damn good game. Insomniac managed to create a pretty interesting start to this series with a fairly interesting concept. For those wondering why I'm fighting aliens, the story is that instead of World War II, an alternate history occurred where aliens attack and they take over Europe using the Tunguska event in Russia, which was actually a meteorite crashing and shit like that, as the reason to how they got here. So we're not fighting Germans, we're not fighting Nazis this time around, which was a common theme among shooting games all around that time. We're fighting aliens, motherfucker. At the time, this game was some pretty amazing shit. It certainly doesn't hold up to more modern games that have come out after it, but it was fucking entertaining back in the day. And it also happens to be my very first online shooting game. Now, the servers were recently shut down for it, but I'm going to talk about more on that in the Resistance 2 video tomorrow. But overall, this was a pretty entertaining game. It's not the best alien game, it's not the best shooter game, but It started the series off on a high note, but over the course of the next 2 games, the series fell painfully flat. I'm going to talk about that more in detail in the 3rd video on Resistance, because I have some rants coming up on that motherfucker. Now, the story follows the footsteps of the main character, Nathan Hale, and his fight against the Chimera. The Chimera are the fucking aliens you see in the background. Although, this game is being narrated by some British chick. You know, the Chimera is a virus that spreads into humans, mutating them into the aliens that you see. So you're not just fighting aliens, you're fighting humans that become aliens because of this virus. That was the twist they added in this game, so it didn't feel like your typical normal alien invasion like other genres that were doing at the time and shit like that. This was about fighting a war on 2 fronts. Killing the Chimera and finding a way not to become one of them. Now, early in the game, Hale becomes infected with the Chimera virus, but instead of turning into one of them, his body has some kind of immunity, or resistance, hence the title of the game. The story isn't just about humanity's fight against the Chimera, it's also how Nathan Hale's resistance to the virus will play a big part in this game. The game progresses over a few hours through many key cities throughout England, and by the end of the game, I think you visit pretty much every city that has a soccer team. I'm sorry, football team. I know all the Brits are going to be pissed over that one, but you know what? Fuck you and fuck your football team. No, in all honesty, man, as you progress in the game, you're going to see that Insomniac uses pieces of actual World War II era weapons, and then they mix in their share of alien weapons, because anyone who has followed Insomniac's history knows they can make some pretty badass alien weapons, mainly the Ratchet and Clank series, for those who know that shit. Personally, I love some of the guns that Insomniac thought of, especially the Auger. The idea was pretty badass. The gun's a bit of a pain in the ass to use, but the idea was pretty damn cool. They also had this outdated idea of a weapon wheel to select your gun. You know, old school health packs. I mean, come on. That shit is ageless, man. But the weapon wheel was something that allowed you to carry all your guns at the same time. Rocket launcher, shotgun, LMG, big-ass alien, booger shooter, or whatever the fuck that shit was. You could carry them all at one time, and you never had to worry about changing out on your weapons. If you had it in your inventory, you could use it at any time. Games just don't have that shit nowadays, so it shows how much this game has aged like a motherfucker. Now, I have fond memories of this game, I can't lie. You know, being one of the 3 initial games that I purchased the day that I bought my console, it was the only game I didn't know anything about when I purchased the motherfucker. All I heard was that the game was pretty good, so I decided to give it a shot without knowing too much about it, and without knowing a thing about multiplayer, and sure enough, I got addicted to this sumbitch real quick. Now, online for me was a total struggle. Oh man, did I get my ass kicked? I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, man. And I'm sure that every single one of you struggled in your first online game, but man, did I get fucked up. Now, of course, this was all before Call of Duty and well before video game recording came into play, so I don't have any footage of me getting my ass kicked, although it would have been quite entertaining. I just didn't have any of the equipment at the time to do that kind of shit. Now, since I wasn't big into shooters at the time, the controls on this shit are a bit different. You know, I remember having to push in the thumbstick button, you know, the R3, to be able to aim down sight. You know, it wasn't a trigger button at the top of the control like we have now, but your thumb controlled the aiming down sight function. That kind of bullshit takes a minute to adjust to, you know, after playing 6 or 7 shooters where the controls are completely different. You know, a number of things this game did with the controllers and the movements and the weapon choices and equipments all changed going into Resistance 2, and a big part of that was the influence of Call of Duty 4 that had on the industry and shit like that, but I'll talk about that again in tomorrow's video in Resistance 2. But since this game came out before Call of Duty 4, the controls definitely feel completely different from anything a modern shooter would feel like today. Now, I remember playing this game, and a few parts in the Resistance series will bring back fond memories of survival horror games. You know, throw you in a dark dungeon or building, have noises in the background, ominous music playing, and then shit pops out of you and scares the fucking piss out of you. This game had a few of those moments and a number of instances where Chimera just pop out like nothing. You know, it fucks with you big time, man. This game isn't Resident Evil or Silent Hill type survival game or anything like that, or nothing like Outlast like we have nowadays, but it does have its share of underwear staining moments. There is no doubt about that. By the end of this game, they leave you off on a cliffhanger moment, because after all, why end the game after just one installment when you can turn this sumbitch into a much bigger series? You know, after the final battle of the game, which is like this giant clusterfuck inside some Chimeran structure where you need to destroy the core, whatever, you know, it's the typical fucking ending of a video game. The game leaves off with Hale walking away from this structure alone and getting picked up by some military troopers in a helicopter. You know, they don't say whether or not those soldiers are friendly, whether or not they're enemies, but needless to say, that's part of the cliffhanger ending that they intended. It leads you into the next game of Resistance 2, and again, we're going to get into that video tomorrow. Now, overall, this was a pretty damn entertaining game for a launch title on PlayStation 3. You know, certainly better than some of the other crap that came out around that time. You know, I'm looking at you, Lair. Or Haze. Oh god, fucking Haze, man. Anyway, it's not a perfect game, and just by playing it now, the amount of shit that was outdated in this game seems like this game was made like 15 years ago. You know, time has not been kind to this game. However, that doesn't diminish the entertainment value this game had, and it doesn't diminish the storytelling Insomniac pulled off with this game. Anyone that bought Resistance Fallen Man at launch was most likely extremely satisfied with the purchase because it was a quality game. Regardless of when Sony could have released it, whether it was a launch game or 2 years down the road, it was that good of a game. But in any event, we're going to wrap up this video as the first video in the series of saying goodbye to my PlayStation 3 and saying goodbye to all the games that I have bought and played throughout these years, whether I like them or not. Oh, we're going to get to some of the ones that I definitely don't fucking like. So video number 1 of this journey is complete, so stay tuned for all the videos that I'm going to have in store for you guys, and tomorrow will be the sequel with Resistance 2. And I'll be making my way through all 55 videos in my collection over the next 4+ months, so as always, rate, comment, subscribe, and all that good shit, and I'll see you guys in the next video.